Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This is going to be my new Henry Cavill Superman Man of Steel video. They just confirmed that he's actually coming back for more movies. We'd heard rumors earlier, but now it's finally been confirmed, and we found out which movies he's coming back for. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're doing a new Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave all your Superman DC movie predictions on the video. So just working our way down the list here, starting with number 5. Because of all the Justice League Snyder Cut hype that's been happening the past week and Zack Snyder using a Man of Steel Superman rewatch party with Henry Cavill to announce the project, a lot of us assumed that it was implied he was at least in the process of trying to work out a new deal with Warner Brothers to come back for more Superman movies or more Man of Steel movies, or at least show up as Superman in some DC movie in some way, because he'd always said ever since Justice League that he's not done with the Superman character. He has tons of ideas. He's been pitching Warner Brothers for a while now on a Man of Steel sequel. Then just a couple hours ago, as I'm making this video, it was confirmed. He is in the process of hammering out a deal for multiple, get it, multiple new Superman crossovers in new DC movies. It sounds like some of them would be bigger roles than others, but we also found out which movies those are going to be. So 4. Right now, the official reports are saying that Warner Brothers is still not publicly acknowledging that they're developing Man of Steel 2 or another solo Superman movie of any kind. So supposedly the new deal Henry Cavill is making is to cross over with their upcoming movies, specifically Shazam 2, Black Adam, and then Aquaman 2. There's also the Flash movie too, because they're doing Flashpoint. Obviously, alternate versions of characters would come in handy. Superman would fit in pretty well with that theme. Oh my god, I created the Injustice Superman. What have I done now? And even though it goes without saying, it wouldn't make sense for him to do Wonder Woman 1984 since they already finished the movie and it's set before Superman's pod crashed to Earth. He's not going to show up during the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, but they'd already tried to get him to cameo at the end of the first Shazam movie, so we already knew that they were trying to cross him over with other new movies. The Rock also has history with Superman in the Black Adam movie that predates the Shazam movie post-credit scene, and Jason Momoa has been trying to get everybody to cameo in his sequel. So 3, right now the DC movie release order works like this. First they're going to do Black Adam, then they do Shazam 2, then they do Aquaman 2. Shazam 2 isn't supposed to be a big Black Adam crossover, maybe a post-credit scene teaser at the end, but Zachary Levi said they don't have big plans for Black Adam in Shazam 2 just because they're so focused on this Magic Lands plot that I've talked about in my previous Shazam videos. But because Superman and Shazam have so much history in the comics, and Billy, Freddy, the rest of the Shazamly idolize him, it makes sense that they try to use Superman in Shazam 2 at least as a guide to help Billy with problems that he can't solve with magic or punching. Remember, he's just a high school kid, so there's a lot that he does not know about being a superhero. Superman even kind of becomes one of Billy's guardians, or a big brother figure. I wouldn't call him a father figure to him, but he does give off a lot of dad vibes when he's around the Shazamly. And because of that Shazam Superman scene at the end of the movie, we know that Billy canonically already knows Superman, and based on the logic of this scene, there would have had to have been at least a small time jump between this scene at the Rock of Eternity, where they're putting the 7 deadly sins back in their prison. Then at some point before the cafeteria scene, Billy probably was approached by Superman or even the full Justice League who just saw what happened in Philadelphia. And as you would expect Superman or the Justice League to do, fly their way to Philadelphia to see what the hell was going on and find out what exactly was going on with this high school kid that happens to look like an adult. Zachary Levi said he's been campaigning to try and get Wonder Woman in Shazam 2 as well, but I don't know if that's going to wind up happening, whatever their plans for Wonder Woman 3 are, because they're definitely making Wonder Woman 3, so she might be busy doing that. He did not say whether or not Billy has met the entire Justice League yet, but even if Superman isn't a huge character during the movie, he could still give Billy some sage advice and help train him a little. Superman is weak against magical attacks, but he can help the Shazamly with all their other non-traditional abilities like super strength, speed, flight.
Superman. Shazam!
Most of the stuff happening in Shazam 2 is more about what Dr. Sivana and Mr. Mind are talking about at the end of the movie, which isn't really related to Superman stuff, so I'm not expecting Superman to be a huge part of Shazam 2. But number 2, Superman vs. Black Adam. So the news report mentions crossing over with the first Black Adam movie, which is a bit of a surprise. It's important to know though that Henry Cavill's management company is run by The Rock's ex-wife, who also still manages The Rock, so they've known each other for a long time. They're already bros in real life, and even before Henry Cavill signed with their team, The Rock had been trying to pitch Superman vs. Black Adam to Warner Brothers for a while. I mentioned this a little while ago in my Black Adam video, but Boss Logic said a couple years ago after The Rock had started to talk more about the Black Adam movie openly, he contacted him to create some cool fan art of Black Adam fighting Superman. If you've never seen it, there's actually a great animated movie where Superman effectively goes up against Black Adam. He gets his ass handed to him, but it's still a really cool animated movie.
You are my physical match, but I sense one critical difference, a vulnerability to magic.
Last year we heard about the Justice Society storyline that they were planning on doing in the Black Adam movie. There wasn't any mention of Superman anywhere in that script, but it sounds like what's changed now is all the Justice League Snyder Cut stuff that's been going on since last November has healed whatever wound there was between Warner Brothers and Henry Cavill. Remember when they announced that they were planning on doing a Supergirl movie instead of doing Man of Steel 2? There were a lot of reports that the studio is actually just using the press to bargain with Henry Cavill's people because Henry Cavill wanted more money, but they didn't want to pay him because of what happened with Justice League. So apparently they probably never planned on doing a Supergirl movie, and they were just holding that over his head in order to get him to take a lower paycheck. And I think before the whole Justice League debacle happened when it came out in theaters, I think originally Warner Brothers never had plans to do Superman vs. Black Adam, but when Justice League did so poorly and the studio changed all their DC movie plans, maybe they just warmed up a little to the idea of a more hardcore version of Superman inside the Black Adam movies. But before they made this big announcement, my assumption was that we wouldn't see Superman in a Black Adam movie at least until one of the sequels. So number one, I just did a Black Adam video a couple days ago. I'll link it at the end of this, but I talk about the Justice Society storyline that's supposed to happen during that movie, at least in the current version of the script as it exists now. If they're talking about putting Superman in the Black Adam movie, he obviously probably would not be part of the Justice Society, just because within the context of the DC timeline, the Justice League still exists in present day. They're still operating all over the world. The whole thing with the Justice Society in the Black Adam movie is that they're reforming in present day because they fought him in the past at some point. And even though we haven't seen the Snyder Cut ending of Justice League yet, during the end of that movie, they sort of imply that he's back working at the Daily Planet and things are relatively back to normal. As for Superman in Aquaman 2, that just feels like it would be the bro down to end all DC bro downs. Aquaman and Superman don't spend a ton of time hanging out in the comics by themselves unless it's a bigger Justice League team-up story, but they're both children of two worlds, they're both treated like outsiders, their whole lives never really belonging anywhere, but somehow they feel responsible for protecting everyone, protecting the Earth as their chosen home, so Superman going to Atlantis just feels like a fun premise, even if it's only for a little bit of that movie. Other than Black Manta and Dr. Stephen Shin because of that post-credit scene, we don't really know who the other villains of Aquaman 2 are going to be or what the real threat will be. Black Manta by himself is one of Aquaman's main villains, but just by himself, he isn't powerful enough to take on Aquaman with his new upgraded armor and trident. But Aquaman 2 is a little further off, so it's going to be a while before we get more news about that. And in terms of the Flash movie crossover, everyone's seen the original Flashpoint storyline. That version of Superman's pod was actually captured by the US government and he was kept in captivity, so he winds up being this really altered, weakened version of Superman. I don't think that they would do something like that in the Flash movie. They already said that they're going to be changing the original comic book version of Flashpoint, and they're not going to be doing all the Justice League characters in that. We don't know if there's going to be any kind of Batman or Wonder Woman cameo. But the way they've been talking about the Flash movie, it wouldn't be quite so dark as an Injustice or traditional Flashpoint type of story. So just expect it to be wildly different from the comic book version of that storyline. But even though the new contract Henry Cavill is signing right now is just for a couple big crossovers, I think if those go well, then they'll start talking about doing more Superman solo movies. So it's not like they'll never do Man of Steel 2 or whatever they want to call it, Man of Tomorrow. Henry Cavill has actually talked about his ideas for more Superman movies, and for the past couple of years, he was pitching new Superman movies to Warner Brothers for whatever reason they didn't want to make. But what'll happen is if we get any more news or concrete details about which movies and what he'd be doing in those movies, of course I'll do a video about it. Zack Snyder will be releasing a bunch more Snyder Cut stuff throughout the rest of the year as they start to work on that movie. So don't worry, there'll still be plenty of big DC stuff happening, and we have Wonder Woman 1984 coming out in August too. Everyone click here for that Justice League Snyder Cut teaser trailer, and click here for my new Black Adam teaser and plot synopsis breakdown. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.